Hey everyone, I want to talk about my epilepsy today. Reason being, recently had a episode, and kind of thinking about the healing process and the recovery process, and thought I could put it out there, what I do, what I find useful, and in the hope that maybe it will help somebody. Um, so. Yeah, as I said, I had a recent episode on Saturday, so I'm kind of trying to recover from that. So I'm just going to kind of talk a little bit, I suppose, through my epilepsy journey. Things have changed for me quite a bit in the past couple of years, particularly since COVID. Dealing with that, how I kind of deal with it in general, and then how I kind of deal with an episode. Definitely want to recognise that I do have some privilege here. I'm fortunate enough to have always worked in places where people have been very understanding, particularly, in the last couple of years where things have been difficult. I've actually been across two jobs where things have got worse for me, epilepsy wise. And, my management, my team have always been like really supportive through that period, and even beforehand when people knew I was epileptic if I had seizures while I was at work or whatever, or working for anyone. They've always been very supportive. So yeah, that's, I consider a bit of privilege because I'm guessing not everybody has that. I'm also privileged in that I live at home with my wife, and she's amazing, really helpful, and there for me when I need it. Excuse me. So yeah, coming at it from a little bit of privilege. I've got a very supportive family, friends. So I've got a lot of good support around me, which I appreciate not everybody will have. I'll also refer to maybe a couple of things in the video where I'll put some links in the descriptions for things that I find helpful. I think the first thing that I'm coming to try to sort of realize, I'm sort of piecing things together. So, each time I have an episode, I feel like I kind of learn something new, and that's kind of helpful. And I wanted to kind of pass that on. I find that so I used to get warnings, I'd call them, which turn out are actually seizures. They're just very quick, and I'll be getting those in the morning. My seizures always happen in the morning, and I would get those prior to a tonic-clonic seizure occurring. So I knew if I was getting those that I'd need to get back to bed. In more recent years, I've had to take like a clobazam because my seizures have got to the point where I was not just having one, I was having like 3-4 tonic-clonic seizures a day when I had an episode. So the clobazam has definitely helped in that regard. I'd still have the one, but not the others. And if you have like an epilepsy nurse or a doctor or a neurologist, might be worth exploring clobazam if you're struggling in that way, as a way to help. But something that I'm noticing is that there's other things that happen before I have a seizure. So I know through testing that my trigger is hyperventilation, and I kind of have started doing this thing where if I'm getting those mini seizures, then I'm reasonably confident that a tonic-clonic is coming, trying to notice other things that I'm getting at the time. And I do have issues breathing during that time. Obviously, I try and sort of write it down because after I have a tonic-clonic seizure, I kind of obviously have issues remembering. And there's difficulty for me, like my breathing comes up into my chest and I can't sort of sink it down and kind of relax my breathing. So it's almost like it becomes difficult. So I'm trying to get to the stage where I can control my breathing at that point. And that I feel like it has staved it off a little bit. But then, eventually kind of my brain, I suppose, gets lazy and it's too late. Noticing things like that, is there something else going on beforehand that maybe you could control in some way? Is worthwhile. And I've also noticed that there are things that actually in the days leading up to it I'm noticing, and I'm starting to kind of take note of that. So like this time Wednesday, I had the seizure. The seizure acted. The episode was on Saturday, and on the Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I was just feeling like absolutely shattered. Wednesday afternoon, Thursday afternoon, Friday afternoon, while I was working, and I don't know about anybody else, but I kind of go into this sort of denial, kind of like, oh, I'll be all right. I'll be all right. I sort of start to think, I'm a bit tired here. My work is quite technical, and so it's quite challenging to the brain. It's not physical. I sit behind the desk, but technically challenging to the brain. So sometimes I just think, oh well, I'm just tired from overworking, and not overworking in terms of time wise, but just it's challenging to the brain. So. But anyway, yeah, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday last week, I was absolutely shattered, and I was feeling almost like demotivated. So I was kind of pushing through, even though I enjoy the work that I do. I was like, why am I feeling like I don't want to? I don't like. I need to. I'm trying to force myself to do this, which is not normal. And I was just feeling exhausted, and went into that kind of denial. This is I'll be all right. I'll just get to the weekend and I'll rest and be fine. And obviously you don't want to say anything to your loved ones because you don't want them to worry, so you kind of just sort of try and repress it, and inevitably it happens. So next time when I get to that point, and I start to feel that way, then I will look to, right, can I cancel any plans? Like, I probably wouldn't sign myself off work, but like, I'm a martial artist, so I'll go and train at my dojo a few times a week. So maybe look at like, okay, can I either go and just sit in and not necessarily take part in the class, or should I just rest? So you can take that to yourself. Are you going to go to the gym? Maybe don't. Have you got plans to meet up with friends? Maybe just cancel those. Just rest. And so they're kind of things that I think can help in the lead up. Noticing what things that you notice in your own body that are kind of warning you. Something's coming. It's building. Something else that I get, and my wife points out to me, is that I get like really heavy like rings under my eyes, really dark rings under my eyes. It's kind of a telltale sign. So I think it's like, if you're getting warnings in the days leading up, then try and take action, cancel those plans, get some rest. And if you do feel you need to, talk to your boss. If they're understanding, just say, look, I just need the afternoon off. I need to go and rest. I need to go and have a lie down. Again, I'm not just saying this because this is going out to the world, but I imagine that my current management team would be okay with that, because they're so good about it. And at the end of the day, if you feel like you're going to have a seizure that's going to wipe you out for a week, or just have an afternoon off, then it's kind of it doesn't make sense for them to be like, no. Anyway, but again, there's that privilege I'm talking about, being fortunate, the people that I work with. Anyway, so take note of these things if you can. What's happening to me in the days before, what's happening to me in the morning of, if you're getting, if tiredness is a trigger, if you're feeling knackered like I was last week for no real reason, take a long hard look at that, because your body's telling you, rest. And people aren't always the best at either recognizing that at all, or like wanting to listen, being stubborn. Like I was being stubborn. I was like, no, I'll be all right. I'm a martial artist. So that's kind of the first bit of advice. Is start to try and notice what's causing it, and if there's any telltale signs earlier on that you could maybe take action against. That being said, my next point is, don't blame yourself. It's not your fault. So, yeah, I often would have seizures and be like angry at myself, annoyed at myself. I've let myself down. I've let my family down. I should have rested. I shouldn't have got up when I was tired, whatever. Like, it's not your fault. And even if it was your fault, it doesn't matter now. Like, you can it's happened. Just accept that it's happened, and now you need to recover. Because another part of that is fear of it happening. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. You can put these steps in place, but at the end of the day, there's only so much you can do. I'm on lamotrigine. If you miss a dose of lamotrigine, I've missed doses of lamotrigine that have led to seizures. There's nothing you can really do about that. So if you miss a dose and you're panicking, don't, just try to relax, and I'll come on to that in a bit. It's not your fault if it happens. It's something that happens, and you just got to then deal with the recovery. So dealing with the recovery is going to be different for everybody. So for me, my body aches. This time I was in, I managed to generally get to bed, but this time I actually rolled out the bed, and so I've got carpet burns and bruises and things, and so there's all that pain as well as that aching. I get a lot of really bad aching at my hinge joints, around the shoulders, neck, hips. That's where it's kind of worse for me. On the day of, I take the clobazam as well, so that kind of knocks me out on top of the seizure knocking me out, and we're at Thursday now, and I'm not feeling back to normal still. I've got a headache, I feel dizzy. It's probably why parts of this video are going to be incoherent, so apologies for that. And I'm getting puffed out with minor exercise, going for a walk. I've been trying to go for a walk the past few days, get outside, which has been good, I think, but I get back and I'm just exhausted. I need to rest, need to have a bit of a lie down. That first day, I always think just total rest. Do something you enjoy, treat yourself. So often I'll order in a pizza. Me and my wife, it's almost like, oh, seizure, pizza. Let's let's treat ourselves to some naughty food. That sort of thing helps you feel better. Just get some rest, and relax. I actually really like being, if we're lucky enough to have sunshine, I actually really like being out in the sun, because my skin always feels quite sensitive. So we get out in the sun, it kind of feels almost like I'm photosynthesizing. I can feel the warmth of the sun on my skin. It feels really nice. So even just sitting out in the sunshine on the day it's occurred, or even in the days following, I have that kind of sensitivity. So in that day, I just relax and just do nothing. If I need to sleep, I sleep. Usually I get a good night's sleep following that. And the next couple of days, same thing. If you don't feel up to anything, just rest, just relax, just lie there, sit down. And that's kind of all you can do, really. As you start to feel better, I start to do things like going out for walks. I as a martial artist, one of the martial arts I train in is Tai Chi. And that's really helpful, because you know, can be quite a savage martial art, but it's also obviously very healing, for the body if you take it. So I do Yang style Tai Chi, and with Shikon martial arts where the chief instructor is Steve Rowe. So I'll put a link to his website, and the website in the description, because some of the things that he writes about are really helpful for me, particularly on like meditation and things like that. So yeah, again, meditation, just sitting in the silence and just kind of just healing in silence. Continue to meditate even when you haven't not recovering. It helps me daily, helps me feel less anxious about my epilepsy. So yeah, I recommend meditation anyway. But yeah, kind of getting back to physical recovery. So I'll do some meditation, and then what's called Neigong and Qigong, and then go through some Tai Chi form, just gently getting some movement going, releasing the joints, relaxing the tissue, which is helpful. And then I'll like find some simple basic yin yoga, gentle yin yoga on YouTube. Just go through that. I'll put a link in the description for the one I did today, because that was really nice. And again, privilege here, but I see an osteopath reasonably regularly, just to kind of get a full body ironing out of the muscles, and that really helps. So I actually, as it happens, got one tonight. So if you can afford it, I definitely recommend just booking in with like an osteopath or someone, and just going and getting like a gentle, soft massage, because I really feel that my muscles are all tense, and even if I'm doing yoga, stretching, movement, there's still some tension, particularly in the legs and things. So like even if it's just gentle, it's really helpful. So if you can do that, then I recommend you do that as well. It's everybody's different, but my Tai Chi, my meditation, which is kind of part of that, yoga, and going and getting like a massage, and going out for walks, being out in the sunshine, even being out in the rain actually is quite nice for me. I quite like it. Yeah, everybody's different, but like I said, I just want to put these ideas out there to help people. If anybody needs it, if anybody finds it useful, then that's great. Also with the meditation, I sometimes do it in silence, which is really nice. Just listen to the silence. Sometimes I feel like I would like to have some sort of music or chant on in the background. There's a couple of really nice ones for healing. The one that I really like is Om Mani Padme Hum, and there's one in particular version of it, which again I'll put a link to this in the description. The Women of the World, and it's beautiful, and it really helps with the alleviation of suffering. I take a nice deep breath in, feel that feel that breath fill up the body, and then breathe out. And I kind of focus on the solar plexus area and letting that go. And it's about 7 minutes, the chant. It's on Spotify as well. But I just loop it and do it like, twice, 3 times. Just sit there, just breathing, and just doing that. Breathe in, feel the breath, and then just soften down. Minding the solar plexus, letting go of the fear, the anxiety, everything. It just really helps that. So yeah, again, I'll put another link in the description for that, if it helps anybody else. There's another one that's really good, Ong So Hong, which is kind of more energizing. So that's quite nice as well if you feel like you need a bit of energy. Because like, I find that it's good to have patience and kindness and compassion towards yourself, and a chant like Om Mani Padme Hum helps with that. But also, you know, you need to have a bit of grit and determination, and kind of courage to get you through. And Ong So Hong helps with that. So it's kind of the balance, which is good. So yeah, doing those things helps me. It helps me kind of reset. It helps me in general. It helps me understand, accept that, you know, I've got to live with this. It's changed. It's got worse. I just, you know, continue trying to keep going on with it, finding the right medication, working with my epilepsy nurse, working with my neurologist where possible, just trying to resolve the issue in some way and make it, you know, it's improved already since getting the clobazam, since it got way worse a couple of years ago. So yeah, just dealing with it as it comes along. And yeah, work-wise, I'm still kind of trying to find the right way to deal with it. So like with my management, they work with me. They're really helpful. Like I said, they're fantastic. And we're still trying to find the best way to like go through that recovery period. So work it out with your management team. You know, consider how long it takes you to kind of feel better, how you want to slowly build back, how long you think you need to slowly build back. Again, it's going to be different for everybody. And most importantly, don't have that agreement with them and then work anyway. Because this week there was something important going on at work that I was involved in, and I was like, Monday, I was like, I need to like just do this, hand this over. I ended up working for about 3 hours on Monday without them even knowing. I work from home because, you know, I felt this was important, and, you know, I'm sort of glad I did in a way because it did help relieve some issues and stress. But at the end of the day, it's made my recovery longer. So, you know, I had the episode on Saturday. I'm working on Monday, and like that's just, it's not a good idea. If you can avoid it, do. And like I said, I'd already kind of spoken to my manager. I told him over the weekend, like, this has happened. He's just like, let's stick with the plan. You know, obviously as well, making sure I'm okay. Yeah, make sure you do stick to your plans, especially with work, because dipping in and out for a couple of days was not a good idea. So then I've had to go and say, actually, everybody, I can't work. I'm stopping working here I'm stopping for the week. Which that should have been the case anyway. That's kind of what the plans always were. But as I say, I enjoy my work as well. So I kind of gotta look out for yourself. You've got to, because it also sends a mixed message to others. Well, are you working? Are you not working? Can I ask you about this? Can I, like, what, you know? It's not fair on them, especially as they're being so supportive. So, yeah, I must admit this is a bit of a stream of consciousness. I may have been rambling, but hopefully somewhere in the rambling it's been helpful for anybody who's dealing with this. I would say, kind of summarizing, key things are: it's not your fault. Learn to accept what's happened and deal with it. Find other things that occur are happening in your body other than just your trigger and your obvious warnings. Like, are there other warnings that are coming days before that you need to learn to recognize? Are there things you could do in the morning or prior to the seizure to, you know, like I try and help with my breathing now. I try and get to bed. I make sure I take a clobazam, just be somewhere where it's going to cause me the least damage. Don't be too hard on yourself. Treat yourself in the day, the day of, the day after. Try and get outside. Just rest. Focus on getting rest. Meditation, tai chi, yoga, neigong, qigong. All these things are really helpful in helping you get through the difficult period and accepting that it is going to happen again at some point. Every time I have had an episode, I've thought, that's the last one. That's the last one. That's the last one. It's not. And you just don't think that way anymore. I just don't think that way anymore. I just think, okay, right, got to work on the medication and see how that goes. And that's kind of how it is, really. Like, that's how I deal with it. Make sure you look out for yourself. And I would also say that, yes, people, like the people I've worked with, especially in the past few years where it's got worse, but they've always been really helpful, really understanding, really kind. What that says to me is that in general, people are people, and wherever you are, wherever you work, I would really like to think that people will understand this and they will work with you, and they will help you get things in place to deal with it. And most people have kindness towards that sort of thing. So yeah, just make sure you are being kind to yourself as well. And yeah, like I said, I'll post links to some things that are helpful to me in the description. And yeah, I hope this has been helpful. Cool. Okay. Well, have a great day. Good luck. And yeah. Goodbye.